Hey bro, I was just on Wowhead and I got some bad. What are you doing?
Oh hey bro, I'm just searching for inner peace after spending an hour in LFG.
I don't care. I hear your class is getting nerfed, bro. What do you feel about
Nerfed? My class doesn't need nerfs, I mean it's perfectly balanced. What's up gamers, it's TreeSap Jake here with yet another video. Now today I want to talk about the upcoming patch. This is patch 9.0.5, so the next patch that is coming in that has quite a few different class tunings, and unfortunately it does include Elemental Shaman. Now up until now we had escaped any sort of real changes. Nothing major, nothing crazy, but unfortunately there are a few changes. So I want to talk about those. I want to talk about those specifically and how it will affect us going forward. But I also want to talk about the classes that we've been taught, well, that we queue with. So the classes in 3s, classes in 2s, RBGs, that sort of thing. Whether or not that changes it for us. So this is going to be quite important. Hopefully we can take a look and it will answer any questions that you might have. Okay guys, let's start by taking a look at the elemental changes. Now, let's get into this. Having a look at this immediately, it is quite clear that Earthshock is now increasing the damage. We saw before that sometimes Earthshock could crit up to 10k. It could actually be a very good way to execute someone if you're lucky. If you've got Sky Fury out, it can hit quite hard. So going up by 273% as opposed to 10%, that is quite a big jump. That is a 60% increase in damage. If you pair it with Sky Fury, that's almost 300% spell power, so it's quite big. It means that when we press Earthshock, it's going to be good. I think this synergizes well with Wind Speakers. It makes Wind Speakers stronger because Wind Speakers give you that big Earthshock coupled with a big Lava Burst that goes up by 20%, so obviously it'll deal with the nerfs there, but I think this is quite good for it. I think this is a positive change that will help that out. The only problem that I have is, and some of you will remember that in BFA, a lot of the damage output came from essentially doing big earth shocks, where you build that up, stack it up with the Azerite armor power, and then you'd unleash that big earth shock that would just rinse people of 20% of their health, which would be a great way to execute. The build was kind of like that. Lava Burst was the sort of intermediate, and then you'd press Lightning Bolt and start a Stormkeeper. Those were your damage cooldowns, and it was very much boring. I think I didn't enjoy it. The spec now is so much better, but obviously, you know, there's a few things there. So Earthshock is a good change. I think this is something that makes it stronger, but I'm worried about this idea that it going forward that it will start to rely on Earthshock again. I didn't enjoy that playstyle. That playstyle was not fun. So I mean, it's, you know, swings and roundabouts. It increases the single target damage, which is big, which is what we're about. It makes it more of a viable button to press, as opposed to, you know, no one really cares. But I think it works well with Wind Speakers, the legendary that buffs Lava Burst, and gives you an instant Lava Surge. I think that's good. I think that's a positive one. Take a look at the Earthquake one. It's increasing the Earthquake capability. I think this is something. This is more of a PvE change. I mean, most of these are all PvE changes. Let's be real. But yeah, this one here, it's it just basically means that Earthquake is more viable in PvE. Will it be more viable in PvP? I don't think so, in all honesty. You can put it down if you want to spin the flag in rated battlegrounds. I don't think it'll be doing much else outside of that. Would I put it down? I'd probably put it down if people are stacked, so like double melee on me. This might be good, a good change to kind of make them, because obviously it knocks them over if they're standing on top of you. A good way to spend your Maelstrom in that regard. I think that'll be a good positive one. Maybe that'll make them more terrified to stand next to you, because they're just taking down a bit of a rot damage, especially if you're playing with an Affliction Warlock who is going to be slowing them. You can knock them over when they're, you know, for example, they put their burst on you, put their burst on your Affliction Warlock. That could be quite good. But otherwise, I think this is a PvE change, and I'm not too fussed by it. I mean, it's a nice change, but I don't think it'll be anything too scary. Moving on to the metaphorical meat of the Elemental Shaman, your meatballs have been significantly decreased in size. Well, not significantly, it's 10%. Maybe this is fair. I think this is fair because there were a lot of times where you could easily one-shot someone, where you one-cap someone. Lava Burst was hitting really, really strong. When everything was paired up, you know, you were doing lots and lots of damage. I think this will be a passive nerf. to maybe Elemental Equilibrium, where you were getting that 15% damage. You're now no longer going to hit so hard, statistically over that period. I think obviously when you get the 15% from Echoing Shock and activating it that way, your Lava Burst will still do damage, but they won't do nearly as much as they normally would. Wind Speakers buffing that by 20%, that basically is a buff by 10% now in reality, if you think about it, compared to where we are now. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that one. It's a shame that they've done this. I don't like the idea of them nerfing Lava Burst, mostly because it was such a great button to press, but if you look at the damage, you can kind of see that Lava Burst is way up there. It looks like, Chaos Bolt sort of level of the amount it was doing, 30%, 40% of your damage, mostly because nothing else hits as hard, nothing else is quite as consistent as the Lava Burst damage. I don't think it'll massively change things. I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. So I think we'll be fine, in all honesty. It's just a shame. It just means that there'll be less chances of getting rinsed by a Elemental Shaman. But then again, I might be totally wrong, because they said that about the Holy Power change, the change to Word of Glory, and these guys are still healing massively. There is no real change, so maybe 10% is a small slight nerf that maybe takes down, if we're hitting at sort of like 5k, it might mean that we hit at sort of like 4.7k instead, which really isn't much of a change. It's just a little bit less. I think that'll be where it's sitting, so I don't think it'll be too massive. I think this, it's kind of ironic, because I was saying this to a couple of friends maybe like 4 or 5 days ago, that the only thing they can really change to nerf Elemental Shaman without busting up the class is Lava Burst, and sadly they've done it. So, but 10%, I don't think it'll be too bad. I think it'll be perfectly fine. I don't think it'll be too much of a change. So those are my thoughts on that one. Going down, there's something I want to clarify. I actually got really confused by this. The Stormkeeper change is just an enhancement change. Super T's thought it was an Elemental Shaman change as well. I asked Tickle. You always ask Tickle if you've got any problems. You ask Tickle what he thinks, because he plays a lot of enhancement as well. So he told me, it's just enhanced Shaman. So I was like, phew, because this was a bad change. Oh my god, if this was an Elemental Shaman change, guys, this would be awful. There is no way. It would just break all CC, as Super T says. It would break all CC. You'd never take this as enhancement anyway. But if this was an Elemental Shaman change, that would be terrible. So guys, just to clarify, this Stormkeeper change is just for enhancement. It is not for Elemental Shaman. So don't be like me and watch it just before you go to bed when you're super tired, because I thought that was an Elemental Shaman change, because on my phone it doesn't really have it doesn't really specify that it's enhancement. So that's a good thing. Okay, so guys, in summary, Lava Burst change 10%, Earthshock buff. I think this is a buff overall for an Elemental. This is buffs our single target damage quite a bit. It just means that Lava Burst doesn't hit quite as hard, but a 10% nerf really isn't much. These are good numbers to get nerfed by. So hopefully we don't get touched again. This is our nerf for the entire expansion, guys. That's the hope. But I think this will be fine otherwise. Okay guys, I want to talk about Warlocks very quickly. So the first thing I want to talk about is they've removed the Malefic Rupture nerf that came. So this was originally a nerf, they put it back up. This means that Malefic Rupture is going to hit, I think, about as hard or just a bit more. I'm not sure whether or not it's buffed from normal, but I think it's about the same, or it's just come back. So this is really good for Warlocks. It means that they're going to still be hitting quite hard with Malefic Rupture, which means that when you go and play LSD, when you go and play Lock Shaman, or Lock Shaman Druid, Lock Shaman H-Pala, whatever you want to do, this is going to be really good. It means that they're going to still hit hard. Another big change, which I think is a very big positive here, is that Casting Circle. Now, Casting Circle originally made that your Unending Resolve did not give you immunity to silence and interrupt effects. This is no longer the case. You can press Casting Circle, and whilst you're within it, you're immune to interrupt and silence. This means that you can just batter people. Okay, you can just batter people with your regular silence and interrupts, and then you've got the Unending Resolve on top of that to do it exactly the same again. This means that Warlock survivability is big. It means that there are 2 times you're going to have to run away and kite around pillars. This is a big buff, I think, for Destro Lock. Destro Locks, we've seen a lot of them recently where they hit really hard. I think this is a big buff for them. So this is good. This is good for us. It means that Affliction Warlocks can get Malefic Rupture out. They can not be kicked, and they can save their wall for that as well, which is a positive. Whether or not these other Warlocks are going to start using it, I don't know. You'd have to check out someone like Chanimals. You'd have to check out all of these other big Warlock players, maybe Maldiva, that sort of thing, just to see whether or not they're playing it. But, you know, or maybe Dakrov, actually. If you watch Dakrov on Twitch, maybe that'd be a good person to double check whether or not they are doing it. But otherwise, we can take a look. Demon Armor, this is a big one. I think with the amount of melee cleaves with Rep Warrior, with Warrior Windwalker, Windwalker DK, all those comps being super popular on the ladder, 120% means that your Warlock is no longer going to get slapped. The one bad bit of news is that everyone's going to know this and everyone's going to go on the Elemental Shaman, which actually is a very good thing for your comp. Reason why is for very simple reason. It is because it means that these Warlocks are going to be able to free cast. They're going to go Yubi. They're going to think, well, there's no way we're going to train something that's got 120% extra demon armor. It's like training a balanced druid, but even tankier balanced druid with a shield and ability to fear and get lots of health back and night phase stuff and everything. So interesting, I think personally, that they're going to be doing this. It makes Warlocks a lot tankier, which they probably needed, which means they'll come back into competitive play, I think. But this is good for the comp. It means that your Affliction Warlock no longer gets one bang. That means they're going to be staying there, and I think they're going to be making up for maybe the slight damage that we lacked by it being more sustained and getting more stuff out. So I think this is good. One thing I want to talk about very quickly is this Destruction Warlock legendary thing. This is a Destruction Warlock one that I think a lot of the Destruction Warlocks are taking. This is really big. 4 seconds gives you way more time to get Chaos Bolts out. I think this is going to make them super popular. Guys, if you hated BFA Season 4 with the Warlocks coming back in and doing all these big fast bolts, oh, it's coming back. I think this is going to be strong. So I think Lock Shaman with the Destro Lock is going to be positive again. I think in 9.0.5 this is going to be big. I'm excited to see it. I'm not excited to queue into it though, because they do 15k 2 times in a row, maybe even more than that. You just get one banged. Like, I know most people have got 40k HP, but you're brought down by something else and it's just gonna slap you. So this is gonna be scary. I think Destra's gonna be back. I think especially with Casting Circle as well, it means Destra's gonna be more viable than Affliction Warlock at certain stages. So we will see. But this is either way, it's good news for the comp, bad news if you're playing into it. There's been a bit of chatter about Necrolord Warriors as well with the Mastery buff. I think that's a big buff for Turbo Cleave, but I just wanted to talk very quickly about the Arms legendary here, Exploiter. Now, I've been playing with a Venthyr Warrior, and honest to God, it's quite scary. This Exploiter one, as opposed to relying on Bladestorm here, you with the Unhinged, the one that gives you the Mortal Strike when you Bladestorm. This Exploiter here, where they take 50% more damage from your next Mortal Strike, stacking up to 2 times. They do 2 Condemns at low health, or 2 Condemns at high health, and then a big Mortal Strike. Oh man, the single target damage is going to be huge. This is very, very scary. This is a real big buff to Thundercleave. This is going to be insane. The single target damage is going to be quite crazy. I think this is going to be very, very good for us. So for those of you who are taking Exploiter here, and I think my Warrior is taking Exploiter, then it's going to be quite big. I think I need to test this out, but it makes Thunder really, really good. I think Thunder's going to be good anyway. I think Turbo is going to be nuts with the Necrolord Warrior. I think people are going to go Necrolord Warrior with Turbo, where the Mastery just makes Wind Fury hit so much harder from the Enhanced Shaman, so it's going to be nuts. But yeah, that's it really. Guys, that's my thoughts on this entire thing. I didn't want to go too much on the other classes, but I wanted to talk about Elemental Shaman the most. Don't worry too much about the nerfs. I think they're justified in reality. Lava Burst was hitting really, really hard. I don't think it'll make much of a change though. I think we'll be fine. Big buff to single target damage with Earthshock. Big buff to Wind Speakers, which you all know I love. So I think that's a positive. Guys, if you have any concerns, queries, comments, let me know in the comments below. Ask me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Support me on Patreon if you're super, super, super generous. Like and subscribe for more videos and content. Let's keep the channel growing. But otherwise, guys, I will catch you in the next video. See ya.